After decades of cruising, I have uncovered secrets that cabin stewards have been keeping from us for years. I was personally a repeat offender of one of these until a steward finally told me the truth. The real shocker, 90% of cruisers are doing at least 3 of these things without even realizing it. These are the 10 cabin behaviors that drive cruise staff crazy and could be costing you better service on your next cruise. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, bringing you fresh cruise advice, money-saving hacks, and secret strategies the cruise lines don't advertise. Let's get started. One thing that really annoys me is when I'm at work trying to finish a job and my boss is standing over my shoulder watching what I'm doing, waiting for me to finish. Well, this is what it can feel like when guests hover over their room while the cabin steward is cleaning it. Now, this can happen on day 1, embarkation day, when you obviously want to get a little bit settled in your room, but the rooms aren't always clean when you get on the ship. And if you're standing there waiting for your cabin steward to finish that job, he might not do as good a job, he might rush it a little bit, and frankly, it's probably annoying him. And this can happen at any time during your cruise. When they're in there, it's best to just give them space. If you are going back to your room and you happen to see that it's being cleaned, just walk past it and come back in 20 minutes. It's the best way to get better service, and also it's not really fair to them to have to do their job in front of you. And there's another thing that guests do frequently that is also unfair to the cabin steward. When I go on a cruise, I'm on vacation, and I like to sleep in some days, so I always use that do not disturb sign. But cabin stewards tell me that this is a pet peeve of theirs, that some people leave that do not disturb sign on their door for large pockets of hours during the middle of the day. Now, maybe some cruisers forget to take it off in the morning. I'm not sure. Or maybe cruisers like to spend a lot of time in their room. I know some who do that, and they might want that do not disturb sign up so that they don't get bothered, so nobody's trying to clean the room when they're enjoying it. If you like to spend time in your cabin during the middle of the day, stewards prefer if you set a schedule with them for when you'd like it cleaned. And usually they can be pretty precise. If you say, okay, well, I'm going to be at lunch every day from 1 to 3, then they'll make an effort to clean your room during that time. But it's better to set a schedule than just to leave that sign up, because they can't even come and ask you when you'd like it clean when you have that do not disturb sign on. And it makes their job harder. They have to keep checking back, and then some people leave that sign up all day, and then they come back and realize they forgot to take it down, and then they ask for the room to be cleaned. And this could be when your cabin steward's off duty, but he still has to come up and take care of that job. Now, this next one, I used to do all the time, and I didn't even realize it was an issue until a cabin steward told me about it last year. I'll admit it, when I'm on vacation, I like to eat in my cabin sometimes. Whether it just be a snack I grab from the buffet, like some nachos or a dessert, or ordering room service. But the question becomes, what do you do with the dirty dishes or the leftover food? Well, some people set these things outside their door. And they sit, and people have to walk by these dirty dishes until some staff member notices it and picks it up. And other people, and this is what I used to do, is I just stack them up on the desk or the table and just wait for the cabin steward to redo my room again and take them with him. But I was told by a steward last year that they actually prefer you don't do that. Now, I said, what, do you want them left in the hallway? And he said, no, they don't like them left in the hallway, but they prefer that if you order room service, or if you have a collection of plates from a meal you took back to your room, that you call room service or call guest services and tell them you have dirty dishes and food waste to be picked up. And they will send somebody to do that, and that solves the problem for the cabin steward. And if you happen to spill some food or drink that you're having in your cabin, don't use the white towels to clean or mop that up. Cabin stewards hate this because it can damage them, it can stain them, and that's something they have to replace and they have to deal with. They'd much rather you call for help. If you have a spill and you need it cleaned up, they'll come and do it for you. And with those white towels, also leave them in the room. If you take those out and use them at the pool, or you're going on an excursion and you take those towels with you, it can be a problem, and cabin stewards have to account for these. And when it looks like they're missing, it could end up being charged to your account. If you need towels for the pool or for the beach or for an excursion, they have special towels for this purpose, and they do count those as well, but you can ask for extras if you need them. But missing towels doesn't even come close to the headache that some cruisers cause for cabin stewards with this next item. But first, what behaviors have you seen other cruisers do to annoy cruise staff? Put it in the comments below. So this is another one I'm guilty of. I am not a big complainer. And so if something small is not working right or not going the way I expected in my cabin, I oftentimes will let it go. But a steward once told me that that's not very helpful to their job, because cabin stewards have the busiest day of their work week on turnaround day. And that's when the ship is back in port and everybody's getting off and all the new passengers are getting on. They have to do their most thorough cleaning of all of their rooms on that day. And if you notice a few things not working in the cabin, maybe a light's not turning on, and you don't say anything because it's not a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to the next guest. Now this cabin steward is having to deal with fixing those kind of problems at the same time as getting all of his other work done on the busiest day of his week. Obviously, people who have major issues with their cabin are going to report those, but cabin stewards would like it if you even report small things that you might even think to be silly, because they can get those addressed when they're less busy in the middle of the cruise, and then the room will be working and functioning properly for the next guest, and they won't have to worry about these little things on their busiest day. While that's more of a headache for the crew member, this next item could really get them into trouble. We all know cruise lines are getting stricter and stricter about what they'll let us bring on these cruise ships, and for various reasons. Many of them have to do with safety reasons, and many have to do with passenger comfort. But I also am aware that many cruisers sneak some of these things on board and get away with it. The thing is, your cabin steward is supposed to report this stuff. In fact, cruise lines are coming down harder on the stewards to be the ones that notice something that shouldn't be there and report it to security or report it to guest services. And you don't want to have to put them in this situation. They really want you to have a great vacation. They don't want to be the bad guy. But if you're leaving stuff like alcohol you shouldn't have brought on, or CBD gummies or something of that sort out in the open, it's kind of putting them in a tough spot. They got to look at it while they're cleaning your room, and maybe their supervisor walks in behind them and says, "Why aren't you reporting this?" So rather than put them in that spot, if you're gonna do this, just keep it hidden and out of the way. Don't make it obvious. It's the same thing with these social media people that post on social media things that they smuggled on board. I mean, what's up with that? After all, cabin stewards are people too. And that's why I'm not quite sure what goes on with this next issue. On my last cruise, I actually had a pretty friendly cruise steward. He liked to talk, and so I'd ask him some questions from time to time. And he told me that he just can't understand why some passengers are so rude. And I asked him for some examples. And you wouldn't believe the kinds of things people say sometimes that I don't even know if they realize it. But he told me that he had a couple on this same cruise that was talking to him like he was 5 years old. That maybe because he had an accent, they weren't sure if he was understanding what they wanted, but they were like, I need ice. And I mean, that's just a rude way to talk to somebody, regardless of how well they understand you. And I don't know why people do this, but I have seen this behavior myself. So I know it goes on. And cabin stewards obviously don't like it. They're in a position where they're supposed to provide you service and always treat you with respect. And it's not that hard to do the same for them. But even if you have the nicest cabin steward, this next item could get you fined. Every once in a while, I'll get into my cruise cabin and I'm not happy with the setup. Maybe the beds are apart when I want them together. Maybe there's a piece of furniture kind of in the way and I can see it being a problem in the middle of the night. Well, cabin stewards tell me that they prefer if you need something adjusted that you let them know. They prefer you don't start moving around furniture, taking beds apart. There's even been cases of people taking their mattresses and putting them out on balconies. And this is where I am aware that somebody got fined $500. In fact, Carnival Cruise Line put out a statement that if you move your mattress out onto the balcony, they're going to charge you the cost of that mattress because they're going to assume it needs to be replaced. So don't take any risk about moving stuff around. You might damage something unknowingly and be charged or fined for that. And if you just ask, the cabin steward is going to take care of it gladly. But whatever you do, don't leave your valuables out in the open. Cabin stewards really hate it when people don't use the safe and they are just overly trusting and leave money, passports, travel documents just on the table or out in the open because they feel like it puts them at risk. Like if somehow something like that goes up missing, they're going to be blamed for it because it was left out in the open. They much prefer you just use the safe. Put anything, jewelry, cash, passports in that safe, and that way when the cabin steward's in your room cleaning, he's not worried that something might go missing and he's going to have to take the blame. It just takes some of the pressure off of their jobs. And wait till you hear this last tip. I never thought cabin stewards would care about this at all, but apparently they do. But first, if you've gotten anything out of these tips so far, make sure you subscribe to our channel and get all of our cruising updates. Cabin stewards apparently hate it when people smoke in their room. And believe it or not, people still do it. I was on a cruise last year where I had a balcony cabin and I opened the door and could smell the smoke coming in. So somebody nearby was smoking. And it's not only not allowed in your cabin, it's not allowed in the bathroom, it's not allowed on the balcony either. And cabin stewards hate this, I was told, because it's quite obvious. They can walk in the cabin, anybody can smell if somebody's been smoking in there. And they have to report that because it's a fire hazard, a safety issue, and frankly, against cruise policy. There are smoking areas. You can be a smoker and enjoy a cruise. You just can't do it in your cabin. So now that you know 10 things that cruise cabin stewards hate, they tell me there is one thing that they wish everybody knew about. I'll tell you all about that right here.